Hello and welcome to the Maureen Bradley Designs YouTube channel. Thank you so much for being here. I am Stephanie Reese, and today I wanted to just start sharing with you how I learned how to make jewelry. And so today I wanted this to be a simply stringing project where I'm sharing with you how if you have similar beads or some beads that you've picked up from a store, a bead store, or online, how you can simply string those beads to make a simple and beautiful necklace. Today I've picked out some things that I have in my collection, my own stash. I have this beautiful agate piece focal. I have some other beads. That was a strand of beads that I've picked out. This pink heart. This is sort of a purple metallic looking bead, round bead, and then this crackle glass bead with some ombre stars. And then the materials and I also want to use seed beads in between my stars. So one of the other things I am going to share with you is that I love to use soft flex wire. Today we're using the pink tourmaline color in medium. I also have 2 crimp beads, 2 wire guardians. I have a toggle clasp that we will use and connect. And I also have some bead caps that I want to use. And I forgot to add, there's always something left out, right? I want to be able to connect my toggle clasp with 2 jump rings. Those are 4mm jump rings in gold. And tools that you might need. You'll need a pair of flush cutters for cutting the wire. And today I'm going to show you this is a fold over crimp tool. If you can see there, it's got 2 notches, one on the bottom and one on the top. And the bottom one here is what you use to actually crimp down on the crimp tube, and you sort of make a little fold in it. Hold that closer so you can see. And then the top one is where you will actually fold the crimp over to clamp the wire down in place. So I'm going to move my tools over to the side, and one of the first things I wanted to tell you and share with you is that I am a big follower of the 7 principles of design. And I've taken a lot of classes, I've read a lot of books, and I'm not the greatest jewelry maker in the world, but I will tell you that there are some principles of design that you can follow that will help you in creating something and putting something together. The principles of design are out there online for anyone to see, and today I would really like to focus on the first principles of design would be balance, as we look at what we have laid out here, and what makes good design. So what makes good design is that it's you. really it's you. It's what you love. It's what you like as the creator or designer of the piece you are making. Aesthetically, it's how you think of things, and it's very subjective. What you may like, someone else may not like. So it really is up to you and what you like. And there are things that you can use and tools that you can use to help make a design, and things that will draw your eye in, materials that you use, and the functionality of your piece and how well it's made, right? So today, the first thing I want to discuss or talk about is the first principle, I guess I should say, is balance. So balance is how the elements within your composition, whether it be a piece of jewelry or a painting or whatever you're creating, it's how it's arranged. And that can be symmetrical, asymmetrical, or radial to create the impression, of equality in the weight or importance of your piece. So today, as you might guess, this is a symmetrical design that I've laid out. I have points here at the front and back, And then on each side, I have the similar beads, which creates balance within my necklace. So let's get started on stringing. So a lot of people use what's called a bead board, or you can lay your piece out and simply start stringing, which is what I love to do. I sometimes will use a bead board, but more often than not, I simply just lay things out and I kind of just let things flow as they go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my spool here of soft flex wire, and again I'm using pink tourmaline for this project, and I'm going to take a length off, and this piece I want to be 16 inches. There are standard sizes. However, you may, if you're making for yourself, the best thing I can say is if you would measure the length of your neck, because everybody's different, right? We are all proportioned differently. The standard sizes are just that. So I have found for me, the standard size of a 16-inch piece necklace sits at the base of my neck, and it's like right next to where my throat is, where my clavicle and if I can remember what this bone is called, and where your neck meets. It sits right at the base. And then other standard sizes would be 18 inches, which comes a little further down, and then 20 inches, and then 24 inches, and then 26 on down to 30 inches. So it's just a matter of what you would like the size to be. Today, I want the size of this necklace to be 16 inches. So I'm simply going to start stringing my necklace. I'm going to dump out some of these seed beads in purple because I want them to go in between my stars on this piece. So I'm going to pick up one seed bead. And if I can get this in the camera for you, I'm just simply going to start feeding the beads, and I want the stars to be upright. So let's see. For this side, they're not going to be upright. So for this side, I have to turn it around, and I'm going to feed the star in from the point, so that on this side, it's going to be sitting up. Do you see that there? I want another seed bead, and then I'm going to do the next one. And I'm simply just feeding the beads onto my beading wire, like so. And I'm adding a purple seed bead in between. All right, so now you see that I've gotten all of my stars fed onto this side, and now I'm going to just simply start adding my larger beads. I'm coming down towards the center, if I can find the hole, and then I have this little gold bead, and then I want to add these little bead caps. The bead caps just add a little bit of extra, something special to beads that might be a little more plain, although I love the little rainbow effect on this bead, so I really like it, but I just want to add, and this adds a little bit of texture to your design as well, which makes designs interesting as well. So now I'm just adding my heart upside down so that you can see I've got one side of my design all fed onto the wire, the beading wire. Now I'm going to continue on with my focal piece, these agate pieces. These, I guess they're like agate daggers. And I absolutely love all these colors in it. So I'm just going to feed them. I love how they're mixed up. So I'm just going to feed them straight on. So now you can see that there's a little bit of a gap there. So I think I want to add, before I do that, to fill in the gap in my wire, I'm going to put a little purple seed bead here. And you can, if you wanted, you could add seed beads in between your focal here, which would add a lot of interest to the piece as well. For this project, I'm simply going to just keep adding them and stringing them on. So now I've got my focal now added to my stringing wire, and now I'm going to simply go back up the other side to finish my necklace. All right, everyone, so I have my piece all strung up on my beading wire, and once you are finished and ready, you'll want to measure it to make sure it is the size that you want. And I just wanted to share with you right here, this is what a bead board looks like. This one's called a bead palette, and it helps you measure. So let me see if I can get it on camera here with my piece. And you simply just place the center of your necklace at the bottom here. I can get it on there without shaking the camera too much. And you can measure your necklace here on your beadboard, or you can do the old-fashioned way and simply get a ruler, which is what I like to do. I simply lay it flat where my piece is at, and I have a ruler where I take it. And since I want this piece to be about 18 inches, excuse me, I said 16 inches at the beginning, I get my numbers twisted, each side, so I just lay it flat, and my piece is going here to about 7.5 inches on this side, and also on this side, to complete a 16-inch necklace. So I stopped beading at 7.5 inches because you still have to add. I may not have added enough. We may have to stop at 7 inches, but we'll just do 7.5. But I just want to show you how you come to the 18 inches. So you have to keep in mind that yes, you have all these beautiful beads, but you have to stop short of 8 inches on each side because you want to take into consideration your clasp. Okay, is going to be like this, right? Won't stay, but like that. And then you have wire guards if you choose to use them. Even if you don't choose to use wire guardians, you're still going to have that little space of wire that you're bringing in to use your crimp tube and putting around your toggle or a jump ring. So you have that space that you have to consider when you're making a necklace. So the first thing we're going to do to finish this is I leave about 2 inches of wire, and really that's so that you can maneuver in and out. You could use less if you so choose, but really I don't really waste a whole lot when I just give it about 2 inches. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to feed on my crimp tube. This is a 1x2 crimp tube. Then I'm going to take the wire guardian. In wire guardians, I thought about wire guardians. So the reason I use them is because this focal here, the agate, it's got a little weight to it, okay, these sticks. These beads aren't as heavy, so I would imagine if you had just this, you were just stringing this, maybe you wouldn't choose to use it. But maybe you would choose to use it. I will tell you that over time, even the finest wire will wear. And it will rub. And that rubbing will be, over time, will wear those wires down and the finish down. And if you want your piece to last a lot longer, I choose to use a wire guardian. So those are my thoughts on the wire guardian. Do you have to use it? No, you don't have to use it. But if you want your piece to last a lot longer, in my opinion, I choose to use them. So now I've just added my wire guardian, and as you can see, I've got it looped through the two sides, and I've fed my opposite end wire down the other end of the tube. And I'm simply going to just bring that in. And I like to close these in a little bit with the top of my crimp tube. I'm just going to just gently push that in just a little bit. And here I will push this up a little bit towards the wire guardian. Some of my wire will be exposed, and you want to make sure that your wires do not cross inside that crimp tube. That can cause your stringing material to wear over time and it will break. So now, inside my crimp tube, I'm going to put my crimp in the bottom section of my crimper with that little notch. And what that's going to do is it's going to create a little bit of a fold over or a dent in my tube. I'm clamping down. You can see that. And it has created and split my wires in the middle of it. Like so. Now I'm going to turn again and put my crimp tube inside the top notch of my crimper, and I'm going to press down, and it ends up folding that crimp tube in half, and it creates a very, very strong connection. And I just sort of give it a little bit of a squeeze. And because I don't have large hole beads, I'm going to go ahead and clip away that little bit of extra wire that I have, like so. And I usually keep my scraps. And then I'm simply going to take my beads, if you can see this, hopefully, and I'm just going to move them down here and allow them to sort of come on down to the other side. And I don't want everything to be so tight on my beading wire, so everything will lay flat, like so. So now we have to do the other side. I'm going to place that in, my crimp tube on, and I'm taking the other side of the wire and feeding it through and I'm just going to gently pull everything down. I really avoid pushing this to the top and then pulling it down, because this wire will bend and it tends to take that form, and I don't want my wire to have a kink in it. So I tend to just work my way down till I get to the bottom, and I'm just going to close that in just a little bit, like so. And so now a word about what I'm thinking about is tension in your necklace. So I want this to all lay flat. If I bring this all in so tightly, my piece won't, you see how it's flipping up? how my beads are flipping up? My tension, it's too tight. And see how my stars are flipping? It's too tight. So I need to flatten everything and allow a little bit of ease in my necklace. And sometimes you can also see how it's just sort of bending easily. I can do that. If your tension is too tight, everything will flip up. It won't sit straight. And your necklace will eventually break because the wire can only take so much tension. It's like holding it so tight. And so if you can imagine, it can break. So I'm pretty happy with that tension. I'm making sure my wires are not crossed. Let me make sure here. So I'm pretty happy with that. I can bend everything easily, and it will wear beautifully around the neck and lay flat. So now I'm coming in with my crimpers. I guess, and also I should mention, you don't want it to be so loose that when you do go to hang it, you end up with a big giant gap near your crimp tubes. So you don't want that either. So what I tend to do is, like I just did, is have everything come down like so. And you're creating a lot of tension because things are flipping up, but at least you know you don't have, see that? So now we're working with flattening down and making sure we have the right tension in our necklace. And I want to make sure I don't have anything twisted here on my other side. So sometimes you may have to pull it out. There we go. Okay. And then I will pull it back down. Yeah, I can't tell. Okay. Oh, I was twisted. Okay. So if you are questioning it, you can pull it out. Pull your piece back down and then get the... to have it on this side so that I'm not crossing. And then I'm just making sure that I put my wire guardian next to my crimp bead, and then just double checking my tension. So I don't want any of my pieces to lay flat. Or sorry, I don't want them to be sticking up. And then that allows me to make sure my tension is good. All right, so now I'm ready to crimp my piece, and again I'm putting it in the bottom notch of my crimp tube, and I'm crimping it, and it's splitting it in half, my wires on each side. And then in the top half, I'm going to clamp that down and give it a little squeeze. And I'm just clipping that little bit of wire away. And now we have our main piece here, just making sure you can see. And now we need to just add our jump rings. A word about connecting clasps directly. You can, before you finish adding your before you finish adding this other wire from your wire guardian, you could add it in there. The problem with that sometimes is that your toggle can't, it's not free to move. And so I do tend to, even though I always say a jump ring is a point of breakage, you could directly at it. But again, for maneuverability, I add the jump ring so that my toggle is free to move. It doesn't restrict movement in my necklace. So now I'm just opening my jump ring from front to back with my chain nose pliers. I have 2 pair, and I'm going to add that jump ring here, and I'm going to add my toggle piece to this side, closing it from front to back as well. I'm opening the other jump ring, front to back, adding it to my piece. And now I'm going to close it front to back. And I have finished my necklace. And you can see that it just moves very nicely. Let's see if you can see that. I hope that you have enjoyed this tutorial today on how to make a simply strung necklace. And we did talk about balance today. That is the first principle of design that we talked about. And that is we used a symmetrical design for stringing beads. Until next time, thank you so much.